So welcome everybody. We're going to do a little bit with the picture lab, and we're going to be working with something called a collage. And so our end goal in this is to do some pretty sophisticated 2D array manipulations to make this lovely collage of flowers. You'll notice that there's kind of a concentric circle of purple flowers and then red flowers, and they kind of go in until we run out of room. So we're going to call this a collage. We're going to do this relatively simple collage. You could imagine a collage with all sorts of different images of faces or whatever, but it's really a good example of some complicated 2D array manipulations. So let's close that. That's going to be our final product. So open up Picture Tester. If you scroll down, you'll see we've got something called Test Collage. We're going to come back to this, but we're going to do a little bit of modification first because we're going to build up to that wonderful garden you're going to see. So what I'd love for you to do is copy this line, copy, and then we're going to just paste it here. And we're going to comment out the first one, and then we're going to, instead of using this 640 by 480 image, which by the way is just a blank 640 by 480, it's essentially a blank canvas that we will eventually be putting flowers on, we're going to change this to an image of Leah, my daughter. And then we're also going to make another image, which I'm going to call robot, and it's going to actually be a robot.jpg. So now we have Leah is the canvas, we have a robot here, and rather than creating a whole collage, we're going to say canvas.copy the robot to location, I don't know, 110, 70. So this is a method copy that we're going to write in a second. What it's going to do is it's going to copy this robot image onto the canvas, and again, right now the canvas is an image of Leah, at row 110, column 70. This won't compile because guess what? The copy method is not yet written. So let's go ahead and write that in the picture class. So I'm going to go to the picture class. I'm now in the picture class, not the picture tester class. We're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom, and we're going to write a method called public void copy. It takes 3 parameters, a picture, which I'm just going to call sub picture. Or how about from picture? We'll do that word. From picture, because we're copying from that picture and then to a certain row and a certain column. Okay, and we're going to write this method. The first thing we want to do is we want to get the images, the grids of pixels. I'm going to call grid get pixels 2D. So grid is essentially a 2D array of pixels in the original canvas image. And again, our canvas right now is essentially the picture of Leah. Then I'll say pixel bracket, 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 bracket from grid is equal to from picture is a picture method. If I put dot here and do control space, I get all of the methods of the picture class. And guess what? One of them is a method called get pixels 2D. There it is. So grid is the 2D array of the images of Leah. From grid is the images of the robot. And then I'm going to do my for loops. I'm going to loop through all of the images in the robot. And again, robot is the from grid. So int r is equal to 0. R is less than from grid dot length. R plus plus. For int c equals 0, c is less than from grid, bracket 0 dot length, c plus plus. So I'm looping through all the pixels in the robot. Now, the next thing I want to do is I want to grab the color of that corresponding pixel in the robot. So that would be color. So this is a lowercase c color is a variable of type capital C color. And that's going to be from grid bracket r bracket c dot get color. So now I know the color of the pixel in the robot, and I want to copy that color to the corresponding pixel in the larger canvas. So that's going to be grid bracket. Now, of course, it's not RC anymore, because if I did RC, it'd be the upper left-hand corner. These parameters row and call is where you should be starting it. Essentially, it's how much it's offset. So I think what I want to do is I want to say row plus R, call plus C. And think about that. That's when R is 0, C is 0, we basically copy it to row call, and then from then on we kind of copy it all over in the kind of offset way. Set color color. Okay? And that will work. Let's actually see what happens when I do this. So hit compile. And then I'm going to close this up. I'm going to compile everything. And if I now right-click on Picture Tester, there's this method called Test Collage we've been working in. It's not totally done yet, but at least it'll copy the robot onto Leah, hopefully. And let's see. And there's Leah, and actually you can see, oh, the robot is actually over here at row 110, and column 70 is where it starts. We copied all the pixels over. One thing I'd love to have you, but that's kind of fun, I'd love to have you modify is, we were assuming that actually we weren't going to go out of bounds. In other words, that this expression actually made sense. But you can imagine a case where this wasn't a safe thing to do, that actually they said put this picture in the corresponding place, but there's just not room for it. So I'm going to add an if statement here. I'm going to say if, doesn't this expression right here have to make sense as an index into the grid? In other words, row plus r has to be less than grid.length, and this expression right here has to make sense for a column. Col plus c has to be less than the number of columns, which is grid bracket 0.length. Okay. That won't have any effect in the robot onto Leah, but it might have an effect later on when we do actually a more complicated collage. Okay? So if you compile this, hopefully it'll have absolutely no change because we picked it right. But now you could actually give it a row and column that are off the grid, and it would just copy the part that was there, and you'd be okay. Look out, Leah, there's a robot. Oh, no. Okay, so we're done with that. So now we're going to go back to test collage, and now we're not just going to copy a robot onto Leah, we're actually going to try to make this flowery collage. So now I'm going to comment out the canvas and the robot. I'm going to copy back in this original canvas. I'm going to copy out this. So now it's looking like this. So now we're going to have a blank canvas, and then we're going to make this method called create collage. I'm going to pause the video right now, and there's going to be a part 2, but this is kind of where we are. So far we've got a method called copy that works correctly, and now we're going to use that copy method to do one called create collage, and that's what we're going to do in part 2 of this video. And by the way, I'm doing part 2 like the big Roman numerals, so no, I didn't start a list at 1. Sorry, bye-bye.